This could now be costing you potentially thousands of more dollars, and you could lose your machine. So as many of you know, in the high-end car community, and to my knowledge now, even the off-road community, which I didn't know before, I thought it was only a supercar thing, is the Montana LLC loophole. And for those of you that don't know, it's basically you create an LLC in Montana, and there's really no checking or stipulations or anything to prove that you actually have to have a business there. You can just create one, and once you have that entity, now you're able to register your vehicles to the business that you created in Montana, and they don't have any sales tax or registration taxes or anything like that. So it's a huge cost savings for the individual. So of course, when you have an expensive supercar, truck, crazy machine, that's a huge way to save money and not pay as much taxes to whatever actual state you're living in. So what I did just read about that I found interesting, and that's why I wanted to make this video, was it also side-by-side owners are doing this, which I never knew, and it's pretty crazy, I guess. But if you think about it, side-by-sides now are very expensive, anywhere between $30,000 to $60,000 for an off-road machine, which is just nuts in its own right. But so these people are buying expensive side-by-sides and doing the same exact thing the supercar people did in the Montana LLC loophole. Problem is, other states now are catching on to this. And of course, with this dystopian, Orwellian freaking time and country we live in, they're trying to hammer down, collect more money out of you, squeeze more money out of you. And they don't want you, obviously, having any sort of savings. And like I just said, they're just trying to get every dime out of you. You better pay your freaking tax. Even though, of course, the elite and the people that actually make these laws can constantly get around these things. But that's another video. So apparently it all started in Utah. Because, of course, some pesky senator out there, those pesky Mormons, I guess, discovered that a big percentage of the high-end vehicles on the roads were not registering in Utah. They were having the Montana loophole. So, they calculated it, and they estimated that it could be between $50 and $100 million loss that the state is losing from not having these vehicles registered in the state. And what they're doing is using this terrible technology that I keep bitching about, license plate readers, i.e. flat cameras, but obviously for the license plate readers in general, there's multiple. So they're using these, and they're also sharing all the databases within the state now, to where if they read your plate, and this goes for supercars and side-by-sides, it's the same thing. Side-by-sides is new information to me, so that's what we're kind of talking about. The license plate readers obviously track certain vehicles, and they send that to a tax database for people that pay your taxes, and also then they correlate that data with if that vehicle is not insured in the state. Because that's another thing that we'll get into later too, is if you are registering your vehicle in Montana, then you also are insuring it in Montana as well. So they keep, they're connecting the dots, unfortunately. They're catching on. And if something triggers one of these systems as suspicious activity, they are going after you. And if they catch you, there's of course a big fine, and it's usually 100% of the tax rate in your state. So, if that vehicle would have cost you $4,000 to register in Georgia, that's what the penalty will be. So, they're being serious and definitely coming after the people, which totally sucks. Of course, the state is going to try to, like I said in the beginning, get you and clamp down on you as hard as they possibly can. And with technology, unfortunately, they're being able to do these things easier and easier. And it just seems like technology is always, the newer the technology, it's just clamping down on us and, just making us more of a subservient class. It's never for the betterment of humanity. So then insurance is another thing that they're catching on to. So especially for side-by-sides, if you are riding and then, you go up a hill and you flip your machine, you could total your machine. And if you try to make an insurance claim and your insurance company is somehow catching on, because, insurance companies are obviously one of the worst at selling data and sharing data and all that stuff. So I'm sure they are going to be in contact with all these different states and all these different databases and data selling and data brokering to, share that information. So if they somehow catch on to you and realize that, this guy that lives in Wisconsin registered in Montana and he doesn't actually live there or do any business in Montana, they could potentially deny your claim or jack your premiums up or, screw you even more than insurance companies already like to screw you. Now you are potentially without a machine because you wrecked it, and insurance could potentially not cover you because of this. And unfortunately, it's not just Utah now. They kind of laid the blueprint, but all these other states are catching on. Illinois, Indiana, a couple other states like that are basically doing the same thing, and to where you're not going to be able to use this loophole anymore. And if you do use the loophole, they're going to try to screw you over per usual and fine you. This might come as a big surprise to everybody. California is taking it one step further to where they are prosecuting a group of individuals right now for this exact thing. It's not with side-by-sides, it's with the supercar loophole, but still, they're prosecuting a group of individuals and actually trying to criminally prosecute them and, give them jail time over this. And they're going to label it as tax evasion. Even though, how many things is California screwing these guys out of every damn day? But that's beside the point, I guess. So if you live in California, you definitely got to watch out because they're coming for you. So it just really sucks. These license plate readers technology and all this other technology is it's constantly coming after you, constantly watching you, and it's just making our lives worse and taking away more and more freedoms that we have. Yeah, sure, the state is losing some money, but, you're still living in that state. You're paying a bunch of taxes to begin with. You're paying your sales tax, income tax, all this other stuff, property tax. God forbid if somebody wants to save a little bit of money in doing this Montana loophole thing, we're gonna get you. We're gonna ignore all the other serious crimes that are happening and the really bad people. We're just gonna let them go. But a guy trying to save some money on a supercar, God forbid, and here in Michigan, it's really bad because we have one of the highest registration costs and insurance costs in the damn country for vehicles, even though we're the motor city and the motor state. So it's really expensive to own a vehicle here, and it sucks. And if you didn't know this too, the state here for registration goes off of MSRP of the vehicle. So if you have, if you bought a luxury car back in 2003 and it was $60,000-$80,000, you're still paying that total. It doesn't matter if that car's only worth $5,000 now and it's basically a beater car. You're still paying that full price. So of course people are going to want to try to find a way around that when we're constantly getting screwed because the law is just out of control and doesn't make any sense to begin with. And they're just constantly raking us over the coals with every dime they can possibly get out of us. To kind of sum it up, the Montana loophole is getting cracked down on. It's also for side-by-side. Side-by-side users are owning that or using that, which I did not know, which is interesting. And if you have a supercar side by side or if you're using the Montana loophole period, you better watch out because they're going to be coming for you. So make sure to share this video to all your friends or people you may know that are doing this, because, you could keep taking your chances, or, you're going to have to unfortunately register it in your own state, which just totally sucks, or maybe actually start a business out there, who knows. And they're going to be cracking down on this method. So, and it's cool. Another fun fact that I didn't know of, Montana only has a one and done policy for registering off-road machines. So it's just, you pay it once and you're done. You're good. Unlike every other state that I've seen, especially once again here in Michigan, you have to frickin' pay every year to be able to have the privilege to ride on the trails. Same thing with the roads. How much freaking money that they charge us to have the privilege to ride on these roads that we already pay for with our tax dollars. But yet you also need permission to ride on these roads. It's infuriating. It really will start making your blood boil if you really start thinking about it. But yeah, guys, I found this topic interesting and I didn't know, so I just wanted to come on here and share that with you. If you're finding any of the content enjoyable, or if you're learning anything, definitely subscribe to Cigars and Coffee, because we're coming at you with this stuff all the time. Trying to get them my first 50 subs, so let's keep hitting that goal. Keep sharing and liking. Hit that sub button. And like I said, this will be a good one to share to your buddies who you might be, using this. I appreciate you watching. Drop a comment if you heard about this. Let me know what you think. I would love to know what you guys think. Or if I missed anything, or if you have any even more information about this subject, definitely comment below. So I appreciate you watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.